Hello everyone, my name is Janesha Green. I am a nutrition and food management major from Orangeburg, South Carolina, and today I will be talking about infidelity and its effects on families today. Now, this subject is a pretty touchy as well as underestimated topic. A lot of people have a sense of what it means to be faithful or what their guidelines would be or their definition would be on happy relationships and things of the sort, but not too many people know where to draw a line or separate in terms of being unfaithful or unloyal or what truly determines or defines that. And so in this study, this is what I will be talking about that I feel is a necessary topic, especially in today's time. Even as psychologists suggest that there should be a more open discussion panel on infidelity. And so I am here to talk about that today. And so, in defining infidelity, I thought it would also be good to look at fidelity itself, which I said earlier that most people have a pretty good understanding of it. It's just one's sexual or emotional faithfulness to their relationship or marriage, whereas infidelity is typically described as sexual intercourse or even emotional affair with any third party member that's not, of course, in their relationship as established. And just to further define what infidelity means, I wanted to go ahead and include some more common terminology. And so this would be unfaithfulness or cheating is mostly used. In religious terms, it would be considered as adultery. And for lawful terms, it can be described as an affair. Now, there are several causes for infidelity. The more common ones are the ones that I have listed. And so the first would be personal dissatisfaction. And so this is where the person looks at themselves as the individual. They view themselves, this is where they would view themselves as, not worthy basically, or in the marriage relationship they could be like, I'm not as strong as I used to be, or I can't provide for my family the way that I used to. And instead of being vulnerable with that person or their spouse, they'd rather see it or go another place. The second would be lack of attention. This is where there would be certain distractions or factors that would hinder a couple from basically spending that time. And so this would either be like work or sometimes even social media, as in present times has been discovered as one of those causes. The third one would be relational dissatisfaction. And so instead of looking at the person or the individual themselves, the person will go and search inside of the relationship and find like, oh, I'm not necessarily happy here. I do not see how I am continuously benefiting from this relationship and things of the sort. Um, Another would be high relational conflict, and so this is where the couple would in turn be arguing a lot, have a lot of disputes, not seeing eye to eye in a lot of areas. And then the third would be lack of affection, which could go hand in hand with lack of attention. For lack of affection, this is basically the little things that bring the intimacy within the relationship, whether it's hanging out together, spending quality time together, going out on dates and things of the sort. That is another cause. So here I wanted to give a little bit of scholarly input on fidelity. Starting with the statistic, it is said that roughly 30 to 60% of all marriages at some point will experience infidelity in their relationship, and it's becoming a lot more common in people under 30. Experts believe that this is due to two reasons. The first is greater opportunity, meaning there is more advantage, more time away from each other. And the second being the mindset of a lot of young individuals actually having or developing the habit, and basically society appropriating multiple sex partners being okay. It is said that men are actually more likely to cheat than women, but women are actually on the rise in that statistic as they are becoming more financially independent themselves. There is also a small amount of research suggesting that infidelity could be genetic, that people can actually absorb different behaviors like cheating from parents or some of their caretakers. Though this is not necessarily to say that there's a single cheating gene in DNA, but rather that there are genetic variations that affect our hormone levels. And those levels determine how bonded we are to our partner and how close to them that we feel. And so the hormone that is responsible for this is called vasopressin, and this hormone is responsible for the emotions that control our trust, empathy, as well as sexual bond. A scientist named Ziyech actually did a study on this where he found and proved these studies to be true. When talking about the kinds of infidelity, it is important to note that there are two. The first is sexual infidelity, and the second is emotional infidelity. So, in sexual infidelity, it deals directly with physical contact of that outside party, which would result in intercourse. And some characteristics of that would be that there is greater sexual intimacy with the outside party than there is with the partner. There's also a lot of secrecy and deception going on, and that's mostly due to the attracted high of the ongoing outside relationship. Whereas with emotional, it deals with a lot of intense feelings for the outside party. It may or may not involve sex, but it definitely involves a lot of strong emotion. Those characteristics would be that there is greater emotional intimacy with the outside party as opposed to the person in the relationship. The involved partner is also here also very secretive and show signs of deception, and this is mostly because they are focused on that actual chemistry as opposed to the physical sexual high. And so, just to continue on emotional infidelity, since it deals with emotions and is not necessarily tangible or physical, this kind of connection can be developed not only in person but online. And so, here is an example of one, and it is called an internet affair or cybersex, which is virtual infidelity. And so, this is when someone is in a secret online relationship with someone and they contact them through social media, through DMs, through emails, and yeah, and even though that this, like I said earlier, is not or lacks that physical contact, it can still cause relational distress within the relationship and pretty much disrupt the chemical balance of those individuals. So what a lot of people don't know is that infidelity does not just affect the individual or the person who was per se walked out on, but it also would affect their relationship, the family, as well as the marriage, if that's what it was. And so when looking at the individual separately yet together, they both would experience a sense of depression or sadness. If it persisted, it could eventually become some suicidal thoughts or even built up anger, mostly due to the anxiety or sense of loss. And usually the injured party will develop a form of acute stress, which could also be similar to what others would call a post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, when looking at a relationship, it's a lot of trust and paranoia issues as it relates to infidelity. Is because of this, a lot of relationships become or would develop in a stagnant state or kind of like slowly beginning stage because a lot of times the parties the injured party, they would obsessively think about the details of the affair, as stated earlier, like what happened, how it happened, where did it happen, why did it happen. And so it just develops a sense of paranoia, giving them flashbacks, thinking about intrusive images, and eventually sometimes the relationship doesn't develop or doesn't progress because of that fear, and they feel like they are being punished. Sometimes it eventually leads to breaking up. When viewing it as marriage, it's a bit different because their main thing is to decide if they want to terminate the marriage or repair it. Being that it is a legal binding document, it's a lot more work. You can't just leave. They have a lot of factors to consider, and those factors would be social or economical decisions as far as who was the most financially stable, who was more financially dependent upon who to take care of the bills and things. Also had to think about the welfare or the well-being of any children if they were there. You also have to think about the culture and expectations of that family and their background, if that was permissible, if it was frowned upon. And a lot of times this would push those parties into a guilt sense, and so they would sometimes even think about, the fear of that other person being alone. But a lot of times they think about the love and the respect or the history, more so, that is built upon that relationship, if it's worth leaving, worth losing. And then when looking at families, it's important to be mindful of this because sometimes infidelity could be one of those things that is considered as a crisis, um, which could in turn cause internal or external stressors, leading to what will be next talked about as therapy or treatment. And so here in discussions, treatment and recovery for infidelity, we note that the main source is therapy. According to the American Association for Marriage and Therapy, more than 50,000 therapists treat people, couples, as well as their families in the U.S. nationwide. These therapy sessions or counseling sessions really just help those people to understand the importance of healthy relationships, and in turn help them to determine whether or not they want to terminate or keep their relationship. The progress of these individuals depend upon three common factors, and that is commitment, how dedicated they are, the culture, values, and norms, or the impact of this counseling on the kids or any involved family. And so there are four stages of therapy. The first is to establish and address those hard and painful emotions and actions that happen as a result of the affair. The second is to manage and stabilize those emotions. The third would be to get a clear understanding as to figure out what made the affair come about. And then the fourth would be to forgive, regardless of if those individuals wanted to terminate or keep this relationship. That is the main stressor in this party, so that the person or each person as an individual can still progress in life. Recovery can't begin until all contact is terminated with that third or outside person, the affair member. They must end the sexual intercourse, of course, any personal or private discussions such as phone calls and visits with that person. For example, if it was a work person, everything after that would definitely have to just be work related, and anything outside of that would have to be, told to their spouse in order to gain back trust as usual. And listed here are some available resources. Since I am located in South Carolina, I thought to put some available resources here to help. And so one is for marriage counseling and couples therapy. It is a LLC called Rooted Hearts Counseling, as I said, located in Columbia, South Carolina. I posted the website as well as the phone number, and it includes on-site sessions as well as virtual sessions. And for family therapy, there is one also located in Columbia, South Carolina, called Foundations Family Life Counseling and Consulting, with the website and phone number also posted, with them engaging in on-site counseling. Now, usually off the subject or off record, it is noted that, especially in African American communities, many don't support the idea of therapy. However, it is reported that 70 to 80% of therapy is very, very helpful, and it does help improve those individuals, even if not for the relationship. It definitely helped the individual as themselves to progress and know the do's and don'ts of relationships. And so here I have my takeaways. These are the things that I've learned as a result of finding out this information. I learned different ways to define infidelity, which would be unfaithful, cheating, affairs, or adultery. I learned the causes of it, some that could be personal dissatisfaction, lack of affection or attention, or relational dissatisfaction. We also learn how infidelity affects individuals or their relationships and marriages, as well as their families. And lastly, we learn the types of treatments that were available, as well as the resources to help cope with infidelity happening in today's families. Lastly, I present my list of references. Thanks for watching.